We've completed all the basic technologies which are available till Bluetooth Low Energy, and now this is explanation about the application layer protocols. The first of its kind is QAP, which is called Constrained Application Protocol. And if you look at, there are so many application protocols like QAP, MQTT, AMQP, XMPP, etc. But if you ask what is that protocol which is the application layer protocol for IoT, Internet of Things, the answer is the one which is developed with IoT in mind is QAP. It is not other protocols. Other protocols actually had their origin for a different purpose, but later got adopted into IoT because they were found suitable. But QAP is one protocol which had during its development all the requirements and needs for an IoT structure, and then it was developed based on that. So that makes QAP first winning application layer protocol for IoT. So that's what is the point number one, which is IoT motivated. The second point is about the full form, which is called Constrained Application Protocol. Each word is self-explanatory. IoT is all about working out things in constrained environment. So this application protocol also goes along with that requirement. And point number three, it tells about what is the standard organization which helps make QAP standardized is IETF, Internet Engineering Task Force, and people who are involved in this design is mentioned here. This is a QAP overview. The point number one explains that it is capable of communicating between machines, so M2M is a possibility, and it has a very small footprint, RAM, ROM. So what does this mean is, so the amount of memory which software occupies, okay? So it means to say that it occupies very less space. So that is what point number two means. And point number three, usually whenever you wanted to access any website, you usually go to the browser and then you go and type in the your tab, search tab. You usually go and say like google.com or whatever you wanted to search for. So that becomes a uniform resource locator, which helps you to identify the server from which the data can be retrieved. But here in QAP we use the word URI, which is Uniform Resource Indicator, because we are talking in terms of devices in IoT. So you use URI instead of URL. And there is one good news that if you wanted to use QAP, it is also possible by incorporating it as an extension into your usual browser. So usually browser uses HTTP, but then it also, there are some people who have developed an extension which you can just install, which is available with Firefox right now. So when you open your Firefox and then just go install this extension called as Corpus CU. So now you can start communicating with the devices using your Firefox browser, whereby the devices can communicate with QAP itself. So that is one pretty cool facility which is available with Firefox. You can just play around, and it is very much comparable to your HTTP. So this also uses REST model, and it also uses a model of client server, which is the basic model of HTTP which you use in your day-to-day life in your browsers, where you, when you're using your browser, become your client, and the information whom you wanted to know, maybe a news channel or a Google, or you're searching about Apple, so it goes to that particular server, retrieves information. So it becomes a client server architecture. QoIOP is also a client server architecture, and it is capable of resource discovery, and it can tell you, it can go find or discover what are the services which are available so that you can exploit them. So that feature is available. And the transport layer protocol is UDP and not TCP. So this has to be taken into consideration. So it gives a reliable unicast and a best effort multicast. So the underlying point is it uses UDP, user datagram protocol, and the proxy and the caching model is also made simple in order to support the constrained environment. This slide explains about the type of messages which QoIOP supports. It uses confirmable message, where you have to acknowledge the message which is being sent, and second one is non-conformable message, where you keep on sending and you don't wait for any response or an acknowledgement. And the third one is an acknowledgement message by itself. So you have that message acknowledged, acknowledgement message frame. So that is what is mentioned here, the frame structure for acknowledgement. And the last one is your reset message, where you wanted to start everything from the beginning. And how do you do is like the conformable messages, when you want an acknowledgement. So what can you do is like, and you wanted to ask for the next packet. So what you can do is you can attach the acknowledgement packet as well as the request for the next packet in a single frame. So which we call it as piggyback. You add something at the back of existing module, or you do it separately. So you use separate frames for a new request or reset, or you wanted a retransmission or an acknowledgement or anything. So for everything you can either go for separate framework models, or you can use this piggybacking. So that is the possibility. Because we have already told UDP is the default transport layer protocol, but to add security we use datagram TLS, okay, which is called datagram transport layer security, which would be helpful for adding security to the QoAP protocol. And the port which UDP port for QoAP is 5683, which is mandatory. And for compressed 6-LoWPAN, you have these choices of 61616 and 61631. So this is the choice. But by default, the QoAP port is 5683. For MQTT, it is 1883. So you just have to communicate via this port. If you wanted to use QoAP protocol, so this is mandatory that you use port 5683. So this is the structure. It's a very simple structure. It has a 4-byte header, and if you want options, you can have options added separately, and then the actual data, which we call it as payload, and you can represent that as unsigned integer, string, or any other acceptable format. And the endpoint, you usually have the port number which we discussed in the previous slide, and you have your IP addressing. So that is the basic structure, understanding about how QoAP protocol frames work. And this slide is actually again a visual representation of what we saw in the previous slide. As I was saying, you have this header which has 4 bytes, which is coming on the top, and then you have your options on the payload. So that is what is to be understood from the slide, which is giving you an idea about the message format for QoAP. This slide explains about the typical packet size of the message transfer unit. The default is actually 1280 bytes, but if you take 6-LoWPAN, then you'll be able to communicate 127 bytes. Basic WSN based on your 802.15.4 personal area network, then it is again 127 bytes. As I was telling, this QoAP is very much comparable to HTTP, and the protocol uses REST architecture, RESTful. So it's very clear when it is client server, it is request response semantics, which is very clear. And because I told it uses REST and it is very similar to HTTP, then your CRUD model comes, CRUD. In other words, we call it as get, put, post, and delete. So which is very easy to map with HTTP. That's the beauty. And as I told you, it has a very simple cache in the proxy. Whenever you need, you can deploy. This is how the representation of talking to a specific device via QoAP will look like, which we call it as QoAP URI. So in the URL bar in your browsers like Chrome or Explorer or Firefox, we usually go and type HTTP or HTTPS:// But here, because you're using QoAP protocol, it will be QoAP:// and then followed by the server and the specific sensor you wanted to talk to and whichever file you're representing there. So this makes your URI representation, and you could vary depending on whichever application and the device you're trying to address with. This is again an emphasis slide, nothing more to dig deep about as far as now. So it uses DTLS, which I've told you, and the protocol format is RFC, request for comment 4347 is what is being used. And then so you can have instead of this there are alternatives. IPsec alternatives are there which can provide you solutions in key sharing problems, resource problems, and certificate problems. So these are just enhanced versions which you can also think for. So this tells you a basic idea about how QAP achieves security. This slide tells about the libraries which are provided in different platforms which helps to achieve QAP implementation. So Contiki 2.6 is a simulator which has QAP support inside it. And then if you take Linux gives you a QAP support. You just have to download and have the package libQAP if you wanted to utilize it on the Linux platform. And TinyOS is again, it is an operating system for Mica modes and Telos B modes, which are very popular in the world of wireless sensor networks. So again, it also uses libQAP package in order to achieve QAP implementation. As I've told you, Firefox browser, if you wanted to use QAP on top of it, you have to install the extension Copper CU plugin. You can just install it and test it, just a matter of 2-3 minutes to understand. And so these are the basic library support which enables someone to use QAP. This makes us understand a little better about the QAP. We already know the QAP message format. So if you look at here, there's a client and a server. So the client asks for information through GET. It is interested in the temperature, and the server will report you back with whatever temperature or whatever for that matter. Okay, some context or some content which is requesting, so it returns back. So now you have this header in which you have this GET message, and the type of the message is your confirmation message. So it expects a acknowledgement along with the data. So now if you use a piggyback model, you will send the data along with an acknowledgement message. So that's what we saw. Either it could be piggyback or single stretched models. Here people have used piggyback model, and the URI path is the temperature which you are interested in, which is given in the GET, and then in the return message from the server to the client, you have the payload, which is actually 22.3 Celsius. Okay, so now this MID is nothing but the message ID. So the unique message ID which you asked should match with what you returned. And below is again a detailed structure. So GET is the format of message which you're using to send from the client to the server, and the message ID is MID, which is represented there. And then at the bottom you have this piggyback response saying acknowledgement message. Along with that you have this data which is 22.3. So this is one structural example about the message format which uses conformable request and a piggyback response. This slide explains about the standards of operation of QAP. You can ask for block-wise transfer in QAP, which is possible. So the block size could be starting from 16 bytes, or it can go to maximum of 1 KB or roughly 1024 bytes. And the draft which helps you to understand this is was draft IETF core block 10. And now if you're interested in the link structure, not anything specific about the attachments or the temperature or anything, you're just interested in the basic core on which it operates, and you wanted to know information about that core, then you use this core link format, and the structure by which you ask is get slash dot well known slash core. So this you would see it when you try using Contiki or any other simulator for that matter. You can see this kind of messages being transferred, and you get a response when you ask this about the detail of the core. And now the standard it supports is link format 14. And now you wanted to know what kind of resources or services QAP provides, then you use this observe option, which is defined by the IETF standards observe 07. So now how do you program your QAP in case you wanted to deploy QAP implementation in your coding? How do you do? C supports, so you can use a plain C program, which internal concept of socket programming. So through that you can achieve. and you can use libcoap, as I was telling. You could just include that into your coding, and then it will support you to talk in terms of coap protocol implementation. And if you take in terms of TinyOS or MicroOS in that factor, or a simulator which supports, then the microcontroller unit OS, you can either use Contiki or TinyOS, which internally supports coap. So you can just use them to achieve your coap implementation.